Before we dive in, remember, facing the dark side of ourselves isn't easy. But if this video resonates with you, consider liking and subscribing. That way, we continue together on this journey of mirrors and truths no one wants to hear, but everyone needs.
You think you've changed, but the truth is, you've only switched the scenery. New city, new faces, new goals. Same emptiness, same patterns, same pain. Every time you say, "This time it'll be different," you're already back in the loop. Different people, same story. Different choices, same feeling. Nietzsche called it the eternal return. Not a theory about time, but a mirror. Because everything you keep running from keeps finding new ways to meet you again. We repeat until we remember. We suffer until we see. And when we finally see, the loop begins to break. This isn't just a video about philosophy. It's about the hidden machinery behind your pain. The invisible force that makes you live the same story again and again. And the only way out isn't out. It's through. Stay until the end, because what you'll hear next might explain why your life keeps bringing you back to the same door.
We love to believe we're moving forward. We change jobs, we move cities, we cut people off. And for a while, it works. The air feels lighter. The silence seems new. But give it time, and the same story starts to whisper again. That's the strange cruelty of self-deception. You think you've escaped the loop, but all you did was rename it. The wound adapts faster than your plans. It doesn't care about location or language. It only seeks expression. So it waits, quietly, until you build a new life sturdy enough to hold the same pain again. We call this progress, but most of the time, it's just the old pattern wearing a better outfit. Same hunger, new name. Same fear, polished vocabulary. And that's where Nietzsche enters, not as a prophet, but as a mirror. He said, what if every moment of your life had to repeat forever? Not as punishment, but as revelation. Because if the thought horrifies you, it's showing you the parts of yourself still asleep. We imagine change as movement, but the psyche moves in circles. It orbits what it hasn't understood. Every relationship, every job, every failure is an echo of the last, until awareness interrupts the repetition. Think about it. The same kind of argument, the same silence after it, the same promises whispered into the same night. Different faces, same choreography. Sooner or later, you realize you've been running but never moving. The human mind loves patterns. They make chaos predictable. Even when those patterns hurt, they offer a strange comfort, the comfort of the familiar. You can't control how life unfolds, but you can control the rhythm of your pain. So you keep dancing to the same song, because at least you know the steps. You'll understand why that matters soon. Every new beginning you've ever had was secretly connected to an old ending. You didn't restart, you recycled. The mind seeks closure, but the heart seeks repetition. It returns to what it knows, hoping this time the ending will be different. That's how the loop sustains itself, through hope disguised as healing. And yet, there's beauty here, because what repeats isn't your failure, it's your invitation. Life brings the same lesson back, not to mock you, but to remind you that consciousness can still rewrite the scene. Every return is a second chance, to choose differently when the same moment arrives. But that choice is subtle. It doesn't look heroic. It's not quitting your job or burning your bridges. It's noticing. It's saying, I've been here before. It's slowing down the reflex. It's holding the silence a little longer before the same defensive sentence escapes your mouth. That pause, that's where progress lives. Not in the new apartment, not in the new person, but in the millisecond where you decide not to repeat what once defined you. Still, the mind resists, because true change feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. So the psyche invents new disguises to stay comfortable. It says this is different, when deep down it knows it's not. But stay with this, because the moment you see the disguise, it starts to lose its power. Nietzsche wasn't trying to scare us. He was offering a test. Could you look at your life, every joy, every mistake, every heartbreak, and say yes to it? Could you love it enough to live it again? If not, that's the part of you still trapped in the illusion of progress. The part that's moving in circles, believing it's a line. And maybe that's the real trap. Not the pain itself, but the story we tell to avoid meeting it again. Because facing it would mean admitting that freedom is not about changing direction, it's about changing depth. So ask yourself, what if nothing new begins until you stop running from what already is? What if growth isn't about adding more light, but finally turning toward the shadow that's been chasing you through every chapter? You'll see where this leads soon enough. Because beneath every loop lies a gravity, a pull stronger than reason that draws you back to the pain that first taught you who you were. That's where we're going next. Not away from the cycle, but into the force that keeps it alive. You think you're moving forward, but maybe, just maybe, you've been orbiting the same wound all along.
Every wound creates gravity, a silent pull that shapes how you move, what you choose, who you love. You think you're deciding freely, but deep down, something else is steering the wheel. You feel it when you meet someone, and the air suddenly feels familiar, as if your body recognizes a rhythm it's danced before. That's not chemistry, that's memory. The nervous system remembering the vibration of an old pain. We don't fall for people by accident. We fall into patterns that once kept us alive. Even if they hurt, they're predictable, and predictability feels like safety. Pain, when repeated enough times, starts to feel like home. And who doesn't long to go home? Here's the paradox. The mind wants peace, but the body seeks repetition. Because repetition means familiarity, and familiarity means control. You can't control joy. It's unpredictable. But pain? Pain you already understand. It has rules, and it plays by them every time. Nietzsche once wrote, "No one can build you the bridge on which you must cross the river of life. No one but you yourself. But before you can cross, you must realize that you're still standing on the same shore, staring at a reflection you mistake for progress." Keep that in mind, because what we call self-sabotage is often just the soul's way of protecting what it learned to survive. You crave closeness, yet choose people who keep you distant. You crave peace, yet chase chaos that makes you feel alive. You crave love, yet run from the ones who offer it freely. Why? Because deep inside, the pain feels truer than the peace. Peace feels foreign, undeserved, fragile, suspicious, and so you return to what you know. That's the gravity. It doesn't drag you down, it pulls you back. Back to the first moment the wound was born. Back to the story that made you who you are. And until that story is seen, it will keep writing your life in invisible ink. Sometimes the loop doesn't even look painful. It looks like ambition. It looks like being driven, responsible, strong. But underneath the performance, there's a quiet exhaustion. The exhaustion of orbiting the same fear again and again. You'll see it clearer soon, because every obsession, every overcorrection, every mask is just the wound trying to speak through another language. When you overachieve, maybe you're still trying to prove you're finally enough. When you isolate, maybe you're still protecting the child who learned that love always ends in loss. When you chase what hurts,
Maybe you're trying to rewrite the past by surviving it again. Nietzsche said, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. He wasn't romanticizing pain. He was revealing that the wound demands interpretation. Suffering without awareness becomes repetition. Suffering with awareness becomes transformation. So, how do you break free from the orbit? Not by fighting it, but by tracing it. Every time you feel pulled back into the same pattern, pause. Ask, what am I trying to feel safe from right now? You'll be surprised by how often the answer has nothing to do with the present. You're not reacting to what's happening. You're reacting to what it reminds you of. You don't need to heal everything at once. Just learn to notice the moment before the gravity takes over. That's where the loop starts, and that's where it can also end. The wound's gravity weakens each time you stay present instead of escaping into the old reflex. Remember, what repeats in your life isn't the universe punishing you. It's your unconscious asking to be understood. The wound keeps calling, not to reopen itself, but to be witnessed with new eyes. But there's still something deeper, something that keeps the gravity alive, even after awareness. It's not just pain, it's attachment to identity. Because once you've lived too long inside your suffering, freedom starts to feel like death. And that's where Nietzsche's most dangerous idea comes in. The eternal return as a mirror of affirmation. Can you love your life enough to embrace even this pain? To stop wishing it away and start saying yes to it? That's the edge where change begins. When you stop trying to escape your wound and start understanding it as part of your design. Keep that image close, the gravity, the pull, the repetition, because what comes next will show why that same pull isn't just holding you down. It's also pointing you toward the one place you've been avoiding all along. We've talked about the orbit. Now let's face the moment that tests it, the one Nietzsche called the demon's question. The question that decides whether you remain asleep in the loop or wake up inside it.
Imagine this. One night, a demon visits you. He says, "This life, as you now live it, you will have to live once more, and countless times more. Every pain, every joy, every thought, again and again, endlessly." Nietzsche wrote that in The Gay Science. He wasn't trying to terrify you, he was testing your depth. Because in that moment, you face the ultimate question. Could you say yes to your life exactly as it is? If that thought scares you, stay with it. That fear is the gap between the life you live and the life you pretend to live. The eternal return isn't about time, it's about truth. It reveals what you still resist, the memories, choices, and moments you wish you could erase. Until you make peace with them, you'll keep trying to rewrite them. And rewriting is just another form of repetition. Every vow to never feel this again creates the exact conditions for it to return. The psyche doesn't hear never, it only hears again. Nietzsche said, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." He wasn't glorifying pain, he was pointing to transformation. Suffering without awareness repeats. Suffering understood reshapes you. So the test isn't about eternity, it's about awareness. Could you live your life again? Not perfectly, but consciously. Could you stop dividing your story into the parts I love and the parts I despise? Every rejection feeds the loop. What you condemn in yourself returns until it's finally seen without judgment. You might ask, do I have to love my pain? No. You just have to stop fighting it. Because what you fight, you tie yourself to. Hatred is still attachment. And what you hate, you repeat. Silently, faithfully. Think of a moment you'd give anything to erase. The betrayal, the shame, the collapse. Now, imagine saying yes to it. Not because it was good, but because it became part of what made you whole. That's what Nietzsche called amor fati, the love of one's fate. It's not passive acceptance, it's radical integration. A rebellion against regret. To affirm your life means to stop editing it, to stand inside your story without needing it to change. That's the bridge Nietzsche spoke of. No one can build you the bridge on which you must cross the river of life. No one but you yourself. The question is, can you walk across it without carrying the weight of what you wish were different? Most people never fail the test dramatically. They fail quietly, by half-living, by surviving instead of existing. They think they're escaping the loop, but indifference is the loop. You can't transcend repetition by going numb. You escape it by waking up. So awake that you can face your own past and whisper, again, if it must be so. Again. That whisper is freedom. Not because life becomes easier, but because it finally becomes yours. Keep that in mind, because the next question isn't philosophical anymore. It's personal. Now that you've seen the loop, do you dare to break it?
Seeing the pattern is only the beginning, because awareness alone doesn't free you. It exposes how afraid you are to live without the pattern. Breaking the loop isn't an act of strength, it's an act of surrender. To stop repeating what hurts, you must give up the comfort of what's familiar. And that's terrifying. The moment you try to step out, the gravity pulls harder. The same voices return. You'll regret this. You're not ready. This is just who you are. It's not the world resisting you. It's your identity defending itself. Because once you've lived too long inside the wound, freedom feels foreign. Peace feels suspicious. Even joy feels like a trap waiting to close. So you reach back for what you know, the same chaos, the same argument, the same ache, because at least it feels real. Nietzsche once said, you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. But he never said you should stay inside the chaos forever. The star is what's born after the storm, when you finally stop identifying with it. To break the loop, you don't need a dramatic transformation. You need presence. You need to notice the moment when the old impulse appears, to please, to withdraw, to control, to prove, and choose silence instead. That silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of a new path opening. Here's what most people misunderstand. Healing doesn't mean the pattern disappears. It means it stops owning you. You'll still feel the pull, but now there's a space between the pull and your response. That space is where freedom lives. Think of it like this. Every time the same situation repeats, you get the same temptation to defend, to chase, to fix. You're being handed a mirror, not to punish you, but to measure how awake you've become. Each time you respond differently, you weaken the orbit. Each time you act from awareness, you rewrite the pattern script. It won't feel like victory at first. It will feel like loss, because part of you is dying, the part that needed the loop to exist. But that death is sacred. Nietzsche called it self-overcoming, the art of outgrowing who you used to be.
And it doesn't happen in grand moments. It happens in small, quiet choices that no one sees. One text you don't send, one argument you don't fuel, one apology you make without defending yourself. Tiny acts of defiance against the old self. That's courage. Not loud, not cinematic, but deeply personal. And yes, the fear will still whisper. The loneliness will still visit. But instead of reacting, you'll stay. You'll feel the discomfort without trying to escape it. And the longer you stay, the weaker the loop becomes. You'll see this soon. The moment you stop trying to win your old battles, they vanish. Because they only existed to keep you distracted from the quiet that was waiting underneath. That quiet isn't emptiness, it's arrival. The return to yourself, not the self that repeats, but the one that watches, learns, and grows. So when the old life knocks again, and it will, you'll smile. Not because you're above it, but because you finally see through it. You've passed the test Nietzsche spoke of. You no longer curse your life or wish it away. You learn to meet it with a calm yes. And that yes isn't submission, it's mastery. The moment you can embrace even what once hurt you, you stop orbiting it. You start walking through it. Keep that image close, the movement from orbit to path. Because in the end, every loop hides a door, and the one who dares to walk through it never returns the same. That's where we're going next. The final step, not escaping the loop, but entering the door it was guarding all along.
All this time, you thought the goal was to escape the loop, to break free, to move on. But the truth is, the loop was never a prison. It was a map. Every repetition, every heartbreak, every silence was pointing you toward one door, the one you kept walking past, the one that leads back to yourself. You didn't avoid it because you didn't see it. You avoided it because you already knew what waited inside. The grief, the memory, the version of you that still believes love must hurt to be real. That's the door the loop was guarding all along. Nietzsche said one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. But he also meant you can't see the star until you've learned to walk through the chaos without worshiping it. The loop ends not when you destroy it, but when you stop running from what it reveals, when you enter the door and finally face the pain beneath your patterns. That's where the gravity breaks, not through force, but through understanding. And yes, it hurts, because inside that door is the moment everything began, the memory you built your entire identity around. But when you stand there long enough, the memory softens, the wound breathes, and you realize you were never trying to heal the past. You were trying to forgive yourself for surviving it. That's what freedom actually feels like. Not a rush of light, but a quiet exhale. A peace so still it almost scares you. When you walk out of that room, the world looks the same, but something inside you has shifted. You no longer chase what hurt you. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. You begin to live with a gentler kind of intensity, the kind born from truth. And maybe that's what Nietzsche meant all along, that the purpose of eternal return isn't to make peace with fate, but to love it so completely that you'd live it again, not because it was easy, but because it was yours. You've spent your life walking in circles. Now, you stand before the door. The only way out is in. If this moved something inside you, stay.
We're building something for those who don't fake it. Subscribe, not just for the content, but for the confrontation. And if this left a wound, maybe it was meant to. Sometimes the best way to go deeper is to share the pain. Share it. We spend our lives trying to move forward, but maybe healing isn't about running, it's about returning consciously. Not to repeat the past, but to finally walk through it with open eyes. You don't have to escape your patterns all at once, you just have to recognize the moment you're about to repeat them. That's where awareness begins. Quietly, inconveniently, but truthfully. And maybe that's how we stop living on autopilot, not by becoming new people, but by finally becoming present ones.